everyone, and welcome back to Wavelength. And the very first time that I've had multiple people in the studio squeezed in onto the tiny rug. Welcome both. If you would like to introduce yourselves.
Yes, well, Kayleigh, it's amazing. Great to be here. Privileged to continue the relationship with Hill Robinson. My name's Andrew and Bertrand. I'm the Managing Director of Superyacht Supplies. We're a global provisioning company. We've actually been going for 23 years, originally based out of the UK. Now we have operations in the UK, south of France, St. Martin and Dubai.
It's impressive. Yeah. It's everywhere.
I'm Bertrand Petit. I'm in charge of business development for Superyacht Supplies. Running mostly out of France and the operations in the Caribbean.
So you can tell that it's the first time I've had multiple people because I only have one extra microphone, so we are sharing. But we can also attest to how quickly you guys can do stuff, because obviously you guys, we've known each other a little while, we've come in, we've decided we needed some extra stuff, and I think within 20 minutes you got it here, which is very impressive. But also that is, you know, I don't want to say a lot of what you do because you don't want to have to do things last minute, but it really does attest to what provisioning is within the yachting industry. You do, when something is needed, you have to get it there. But how often does it happen in like that kind of last minute chief stew, chef, captain calling you up?
Certain peak moment of the year. We have more occurrence of this kind of situation when you have to go quickly and sort a situation out. But generally, the yachting industry is organized, and we get time to do what we have to do, and we actually do it better with time, like everything. But summer season, peak of summer season, south of France, typical moment where you will get last-minute crazy requests. I would say St. Bart's, Christmas and New Year's is another peak season, peak moment where things like that happen.
Like, is there ever a case where it's like Christmas Day, we need something?
On Christmas Day, we are ready for like 7 of them.
No, you know, and obviously, like Bertrand says, during these peak seasons, but it will often be, you know, these are when you get the random items because they're the things that no one's thought about or someone wants on a whim. But actually, from a long-term relationship point of view, getting those things can be the most important thing you can do. Yeah.
So, I mean, you said there that the yachting industry is in general very organised. I mean, I'm relatively like, yeah, probably, but also we know those last minute come in. But a lot of what you do sort of, for me, straight away, you know, when I think of provision, when I think about you guys, my mind tends to go towards those really great items that you're able to source. But so much of what you do is down to logistics, it is down to planning, but it's not just about your individual planning, it's also that planning that has to happen on board as well. Like, what's that relationship like? How do you build up that relationship between on board and yourselves?
I say the best relationships that we have are when we're essentially an extension of the team, an extension of the onboard team. We're their support, you know, on shore, helping get them things wherever they might be in the world as quickly as possible. And some of the relationships that we have as a business go back 15 years, and that's obviously all businesses are built on trust, but this one especially is built on trust because sometimes there is no other way of getting there, and so you have to really understand your client, understand their needs is something that, you know, someone like Bertrand will intrinsically know. Then, you know, either before they ask it or as soon as they've asked it, how am I going to source this quickly? Exactly the format that you need, because yachting is very, very specific. You know, we also run a restaurant group called Joël Robuchon, and we have a restaurant supply business. And you might think that restaurant food supply business, and you might think that actually, there's a lot of similarities between those, But in terms of operations, what's required for the yachting industry is vastly different. Different. You need extreme flexibility.
Yeah.
I think it often blows the minds of the colleagues that we have working in the other parts of the business, just how flexible we need to be. In only in very, very small number of cases will the answer be no. Actually, no. In 99% of the time, it's absolutely yes. And actually, this is what we get the buzz from receiving requests that are a little bit impossible. Firstly, you think, oh dear, and then you sit back down, breathe. The whole team gets together and says, how are we going to do this? How are we going to solve that? Yeah. I think you've got to be energized by that. And then it's about the constant dialogue with your clients.
I was going to say communication and transparency is that constant dialogue. When you've got such a depth of product range and of possibility in what can occur, communication has to be more than in any other interaction that we generally have. You've got to be clear on what's possible, not possible, when, how. And so by having this communication and this transparency on operations and logistics, you create that trust and then you become the onshore team. But if you miscommunicate, you then lose that trust.
I mean, it blows my mind a little bit when I think about it, because these are just floating businesses. We've said this before, they're just like out on the ocean. And one of the things that people who listen will know is that if I was going to go on board, I'd be a chef, because that's how I show how much I like people's cooking for them. But that all sounds well and good, but then it's like, okay, I'm in the middle of a charter, I'm out in the ocean, and I need banana, because I do make awesome banana bread, but that's a fresh produce. I'm not going to use like frozen banana. How are we dealing with it? And it really does blow my mind as somebody who has not had to do that before.
And it might be, and like we were saying earlier, it might be items that they might ostensibly on the surface not look like the most important luxury item, but the key item at that moment in time. Lemons, for example, if you don't deliver the lemons, or if they've run out of lemons, then you can't have gin and tonics and you can't have smoked salmon in the morning, and literally no one's going to be happy. So you've got to really, there's many things like that. When we have an order, a list of items might be 2,000 items long, but the most important one is often not the one you think, and so often you've got to speak to your client, understand if of everything, which one is it we have to do.
What is boss's favorite thing in the morning? What does his what like I've had somebody recently who had an issue because the 0% milk was not fresh, it was long life.
Okay.
And
which sounds like a sensible thing to have on board long life milk.
Well, it had to be fresh, because the master has fresh 0% milk every morning, and if he can't pour and sees that it's not a fresh milk, then it's a problem, and it's a big problem, because you're dealing with the thing that the primary likes.
Yeah. Because we have the client as in the owner, but you also, your chief stews, your captains, your chefs are your clients as well. And I always feel slightly sorry for these people, because they have to learn how to kind of manage this and take on all of that planning, and like say, be that person who thinks about the lemons and thinks that the lemons are the most important thing there. Are there ever times where you kind of like look through that list, especially when you've got maybe somebody who's new to the role, new to doing the provisioning, and you kind of have to provide that little bit of advice of, have you thought about this? I see you've ordered this. What about this?
Of course, that's totally part of communication, and while you discuss things, we together think of things that could be missing on that list, and that's common, and it's usual. Our team are free to talk to chefs and just, have you forgotten that? And I haven't seen this on your list. Gluten-free. I've recently had a gluten-free situation of that kind.
And do you kind of see straight away when the orders come in, can you totally tell what's for the boss and what's for the crew?
No.
No? The crew eating all the expensive stuff.
Or depending on the yachts, a yacht that you work with, sometimes things will come in mixed. The larger the yacht, the more structure there will be with these product requests. And how it works is that we have a system, and an order will come in. We will then split that order, divide it up in consultation with the client, divide it up into manageable chunks, and it might be soft drinks, or it might be guest consumables, or alcohol, etc. And that allows you to more coherently group items, and then you can work on your tracking and traceability and your questioning, and help with that communication. So most of the time, if it's a large yacht, an order will come in with their own code number and guest or crew, and then what it is. But sometimes you have to put that structure in yourself as well. It's not there's no one size fits all approach. No yacht runs it the same. Some yachts have different internal systems that they run as well, computer systems. Sometimes you get given a list which is a gift, which is just so easy to work with. Sometimes
some yachts have no systems.
Sometimes it's a photo of a handwritten piece of paper.
Really?
Yeah, and so you've got to translate that into digitize it. So I suppose you'd say, and then it will start being added to on a WhatsApp chat. And so you got all this, and then someone else will ask on email, and so you've got all these different methods of communication. You've got to juggle and not miss anything at the same time.
Which I guess makes sense. The crew was so busy, and especially middle of the season, you're probably running around, you probably are grabbing a piece of paper and writing down, this is what I need, I've just remembered, I've just noticed, I've just had 5 minutes to write it down, but I don't have 10 minutes to get to my computer, and you have to be able to adapt to all of that.
Absolutely. I mean, it goes back to the example we were discussing a little bit earlier, where sometimes even the chef, often it's the chef who has the least time on board. It's the most intense, one of the most intense jobs on board, and they won't even have the time to speak on the phone, or they won't even have the time to often reply to a list of questions. So you have to really understand the communication method that might work best for that person at that particular time. Some of that is learned over time. Some of that is trial and error at that moment, but you need to have that communication to eliminate any potential issues, because sometimes you can't solve the problem. There may be a delivery slot that's at 9 a.m. in the port of Antibes, and they're gone after that. And they don't know when they're going to be in another place. That other place may be Sardinia, and it may be Naples, or it may be Malta. They don't, and often the crew don't know, so they're having to plan ahead, and our job is to help them with this planning as best we can.
I mean, I'm always impressed when I go on board and you go into the pantries or you go into the crew areas, and they have found every single possible place it is to be able to store food, like store a snack, store something. I've seen like chairs that open up to store stuff. I've seen all sorts of little cubby holes where they have found places to store. I mean, I know you were in shipyards last week as well. Do you feel like at that build stage as well that enough attention is really thought about of where people are actually going to be able to put all of those provisions?
Smaller yacht have a bigger issue with that. You also make me think of galley design, which is a major similar problematic that needs to be thought about by the designers, shipyards, yacht owners. I know there is a lot of reflection around this, and yes, some yachts are better thought through in that direction than others. Yes, stews and chefs put away in every corner of every yacht.
Every single tiny place.
Some yacht owners design a very large yacht without so much storage space, but they have a support yacht as well.
Oh, that's true. It's the joy of a support vessel.
Increasingly, we see things like that. I was at Ocean Co last Monday, and absolutely, this was the storage is a major question, and there are people who consult based on this ex-crew that will consult on either galley design or how the flow works, and actually the shipbuilder is saying this.
We had Mealy from Holistic Interiors with us a couple of weeks ago talking about that involvement of crew and that service flow and
she's fantastic. Fantastic. And that's what Ocean Co also said. They said sometimes if you get a designer, so there can be many different designers brought on board. Some of which you don't have prior experience on a yacht, and it might look wonderful, but it's just not usable in practice. And so they will advise, consult backwards after years and years of experience. But it is important. And it's important in the way that we might work with the yacht as well, how are things going to arrive on board, how they're going to be put away quickly without the principal being aware. Even if they're on board, they might not want to see this part of the back end operation.
I mean, that back end operation's a mission. I love it when I'm walking down the port here and you see, and sometimes it's your vans with Superyacht Supplies on it, and all of the stews come out along the gangway, and they're literally just passing boxes and boxes up. It is military operation, I think, at that point.
Yeah, and our teams like this, and sometimes this is at 6 o'clock in the morning. And you've got to be in and out with as little mess as possible. Take all the packaging that they don't want on board away, and just allow the crew to focus on their main job, which is service delivery, the end client service delivery.
I mean, we've said about those little things that make the experience for the client. How often is it something really simple? I mean, I believe you guys mentioned previously about a particular blueberry yogurt, and it was actually really cheap, but it was really important to the client. How often is it kind of something really simple, and how often is it just something crazy expensive and outlandish?
I would say 95% of the time it's very simple. Human are human, and whether you're a principal on a mega yacht, your pleasures may be very simple.
I don't care how rich I become, I'm still going to want Jaffa cakes.
Often the favorite dish is the one that reminds you of your childhood, and so simplicity often is key.
I was going to add to that. It's you see through people's purchasing habits, nostalgia. You really, really do. It doesn't matter where they are now. If you look at where they come from, or where you develop the things you liked, the smells, the tastes, especially. You might want the same detergent powder that you had from England when you were a child. That's still made today. A certain, spreadable butter. It's dishwasher tablets. A lot. Obviously, things like smell and taste are very closely linked to your memory, and I think that intrinsically you see a lot of these things where it really is a choice from very deep in that person's psyche. And often those are the things that you spend the most time hunting for, because often they're not available where their client is now.
It's like when you blow out a candle, you always think of birthday cake. because you grew up blowing out candles.
Yeah.
I think extravaganza often comes from hosting and the display. And so that's when we call it 5%. I don't know how to rate what's crazy or not crazy, but but generally the most extravagant requests are coming from the primary, having a reception, being on display, be it for business or leisure. But that's when the show goes on and the crazy purchases are happening.
So I've got to ask, what are some of the craziest purchases you've been asked for?
Would you like to start or should I start?
I love that there's more than one to choose from.
We've had clients who had to urgently find camel milk, camel cheese, donkey milk and donkey cheese, and the same client asked for horse milk as well.
Not animals I would usually go to for milk and
apparently
cheese. Apparently
for dietary requirements or a change in dietary requirements.
I think the craziest was where they were.
And where they were. So we had this one request for the first time. It came through on a Friday afternoon. And they needed it first thing the next week in Sardinia, and so we couldn't get from the Middle East, and so we had to hunt around for suppliers. We eventually found a camel farm in Alsace where they milked the camels specially. They had a herd of 35 camels. They milked them specially, and by Tuesday we had the milk, 60 litres of the milk and 30 litres of kefir. Camel kefir, and they were delivered on the following Tuesday.
I love the image of like phone calls and somebody just going out to their camels on a Saturday, Sunday to milk the camels.
And that continued for the rest of the summer. Deliveries to Portofino, Naples, Greece. The same thing.
Wow.
Unfortunately for the camel farmer, he thought this was the sign of things to come, and increased his camel herd. And he actually contacted me yesterday asking, why no more orders? He said, I'm really sorry, but these things can be extremely specific at a specific point of time. And then they're gone.
And then they're gone afterwards.
Because they move, because our client base moves, obviously.
Yeah.
We had to get a certain pair of sunglasses that were out of production now, and we managed to find one pair that had been worn one time in Croatia, and get them back. We had to get them in Monaco. The client for this cried. Because they thought they'd lost the sunglasses, and they thought they were never going to get them back, because they knew that Dior didn't make them anymore. And we managed to find these, But you've got to. It's the thrill of the chase, and I think that's this. I think you've got to enjoy that and get a buzz off of
Norwegian 10-meter high Christmas tree once.
Oh yes.
Yeah, we got 2 Norwegian 10 meters Christmas tree request for a yacht in Maldives. Mm-hmm. Just before Christmas, and maybe a week before Christmas, and we had to get it to Maldives very quickly. We chartered a jet for that.
Because I imagine, of course, you're going to have to charter a jet, because otherwise, it's how else are you getting it there intact as well? Because some of this is delicate. I mean, it's a Christmas tree. All the needles are going to fall off by the time it makes it there. Is there ever times where you've kind of had to say no?
I think there's.
I remember one. New York water to make New York bagels the best New York bagels of the Mediterranean.
Right.
He wanted New York water.
New York
tap water.
Hang on, wait. So there's making New York bagels.
Yeah. The principal was from New York.
Yeah.
And maybe the chef as well was also from New York. He said, you need the best bagels are from New York. When the taste of home again, and it's the water, apparently. That is a key factor in this. And I think we wanted five 5 litres of New York tap water? At that point, we said no.
I mean, I think that's
I tried.
We did try. We did not. We did.
You tried.
True.
I love that
It's
you
true. We did
tried.
ask who is in New York that's coming back, but we're not going to go and do this especially.
I now really want to go make bagels, some in New York water and some in just normal French water, and see which ones taste better, or if you can taste the difference.
But you do, you have clients, from America that they may be here for the summer, for example, who want all of their products from America, and they want American postcodes on it. America Coca-Cola is very specific because it was with a different sugar content, etc. It's actually it is a different. It's a different.
It's a different recipe.
Yeah.
It's a different recipe, it's a different product, and I think you certain best before dates.
Yeah.
Sometimes some clients want products that have got more than 3 months best before dates, otherwise they won't accept it. And so the list of requests is just as individual as the number of individuals that you're dealing with, And I think this is, you have to be totally open to anything, because I think if we think of ourselves, if someone asks you what do you want, and not just what's available now and what is available locally. What do you actually want? And the question never went further than that. So what do you want? If you say, and you'll answer, I want this. And so then the difference in yachting versus almost any other industry is that, the wheels are then set in motion to get exactly that.
Yeah.
And you don't ask too many other, unless it's completely insane. a few examples. Most other occurrences, without being too environmentally unfriendly, and looking at sustainability and longevity and things like this, without throwing that out completely out of the window, because you just can't. It's not a modern way of thinking. You try to get everything you can, and
Are there ever times where you find yourself kind of almost negotiating in order to meet certain budget restrictions and things? Okay, you want this brand of bagel, and then being like, okay, but if you took this, you're going to be able to have it, more within your budget, because we talk about budgets a lot, and unfortunately, a lot of the time when budgets are kind of brought down, or somebody plays it comes out crew stuff, I don't see it coming out a lot from provision.
I think it's back to communication. If something is higher price than the market, general price for that market, or has to be sourced from UK, or while you're in France, or France while in UK, then we raise the point. You do realize that these products will be more expensive than a locally available product, and so then that is down to the decision of the chef or stew, whether this is something they really need to have as brand specific or not. And so negotiating price, not really. Communicating on something that is more expensive than it could be if it was replaced by a similar product. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking earlier about being out in the Caribbean. I think you're about to go out there for the winter season. It is one of those places where I've had a lot of feedback from crew that actually provisioning is a little bit more difficult, apart from the fact that a lot of boats out there are at anchor because there's not enough berths for them all to be there around Christmas time. It does seem to be a little bit more of a struggle. Are there areas where provisioning just is slightly easier or slightly harder?
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. The Caribbeans are, it's an archipel. So by essence, on an island, supply to the island itself is more complicated than on the continent. Good example, one of the reasons why we set our team there is actually to buy locally more than we have done in the past. And that is done by buying whatever is not fragile or not fresh items that can be imported onto the island by container ships over time and distributed by local distributors, as opposed to very fresh and fragile products which have to be flown in, which incurs a large additional cost.
And I suppose the advice for crew who are kind of in that position really, again, comes back to communicating with yourselves and agencies that are there to be able to organise that properly.
Yeah, and also communicating with their client or primary, and to explain what the problematics will be once your boat is in the Caribbean, and maybe try to provision before you end up in a tricky situation in some islands where actually they're the most amazing and beautiful islands are the least stocked.
Yeah.
Because they're natural, they're wild, they're the sandy beach. There isn't a wholesaler of food there.
I think I'd add to things like this. Often when I tell friends of mine, that we're supplying yachts that are over somewhere like the Caribbean, and the first thought is, it's terrible to fly something in, but then the reality is, 90% of everything consumable that is already flown in. It's already flown in. It's not, and so
it's not just the yachting industry that flies products into the Caribbean.
No, it's not, and that has to happen. And so, if it has to happen anyway, and then the quality might not be quite as good as you want, that's already on the ground. You have to. That's when you have to use your international network or the capabilities within the business. But as Bertrand said, increasingly what we're doing is setting up offices all around the world so that we do have that local capability. And that's for speed, as well as hopefully working with more local producers, whether it's fruit and vegetables or anything else.
And would you do, I know you guys have worked with local producers and stuff before. Do you always go out and test the products and see how they're produced and everything? How much food and drink do you get through in a year testing everything? I can imagine it's really difficult.
Really tough. Terrible. Wine's the most important thing to test.
Wine, you've got to test the wine.
Yeah, you don't want to. It may have been stored in the wrong place, the wrong temperature.
Got to check. Yeah.
No, joking aside, though, obviously this is a business which you've got to be passionate about the clients that you're serving and that whole process of sourcing, regardless of what it is and the speed of sourcing. But you also got to be really passionate about the different business units. So if you look at us as a business, for an example, it's very broad. What we are asked to deliver ranges from everything for the galleon, so all the food, all the drink, spa products, cigars, rugs and beds and mattresses, and even artworks. It could be absolutely extremely broad. So I think you need to naturally be someone who's interested in these areas, because sometimes you're going to have to jump into something and become as close to an expert as you can be in a very, very short amount of time. So you've got to revel in that. In doing so, obviously, we've got to taste and sample as much as we can. Yeah.
Well, we also have teams. We have teams that we can rely on from our catering operation. I mean, we have 28 chefs working within the company now, so they are going through products. They've got a strong expertise, which they share with us. And I think that really is one of the area that helps us to tackle our products sourcing, and just to make sure everything that we source is consistent. Because our kitchen uses these products on a daily basis, so we know that those suppliers, I wouldn't say producers, because we deal with more distributors than producers. In reality, we don't buy tomatoes from the tomato producers and fish from the fishermen. We buy from people who distribute it, select, prepare, and the reliability of these people is the consistency of these suppliers is what's key. We check that on an everyday basis via our other parts of the business as well as ours, as in the catering department, the restaurants, we buy from common sources. So we try the products all the time.
And you guys do have a kitchen not far from here, essentially,
yes.
in my hometown. But you've also been involved with having crew there to do training. Obviously, you guys know Laura, who we had on the podcast. What will be episode 1, I think. And is that another side that you're passionate about? It's not just like the produce, but how that produce then gets used afterwards.
I can speak about this. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's part of the communication question, and the communication and facilitating that communication with the end client. In this case, when you're talking about training, it's training of the crew itself. So we've started off working with with Hill Robinson Academy. We were training some crew in cooking. We had chefs from the top chefs in their fields from the world. So the head chef of Koya in Monaco, teaching South American cuisine. We've had Sabrina Goya recently, who's a best-selling author with Middle Eastern cuisine, going to train the chefs, and we hold courses on wine and drinks, etc. And so, this is both. It's an opportunity for us to get closer to the clients, understand their needs, but also facilitate in their knowledge development as well. All of which should ultimately mean that when we do have to work together, the communication is much more fluid. We know each other better. They know more, and the more you know, the easier the ordering is as well, because you're getting rid of the ambiguity. There's no vagueness anymore, because everyone just understands what they're looking for, but they also stand each other as well. So we're really happy to participate in all of the training initiatives. And we obviously love working with Laura as well. You're going to say something?
No, yeah.
So finally, what would be your top tip for those chief stews, those head chefs, etc., who are maybe for the first time looking at provisioning? What is your top tip for them?
Visit provisioners.
Yeah.
Spend time with them. Get to understand how they work, what's their problems, so that you can have requests that are in line with what's possible or not possible, and build trust with provisioners.
Yeah.
I think that's absolutely perfect, and also think long term. I think this is a big thing. Think long term, but I know it's hard to do when you're up against it and you've got a request and you need to just go and find this wherever you need it at that moment in time. But I think long term, because the people you work with long term are gonna help you long term. And so I think that's extremely important. I also think define a list of your preferred suppliers that you work with, and as I said, stick to that. Doesn't mean you need to work with just one person all the time. That's also risky. I would say to someone, don't work with just one, because there's be sometimes that we or another just can't get it. Can't do it, but someone else will be able to. And if you've only got one relationship with one person, then that's more. Then you put yourself in a more risky position. But don't have 20.
Get the right number.
Get the right number.
Share with other chefs. Be part of the chefing or stew community that will share tips about how to buy where. Each destination will have their specificities, and so by being part of the community, the yachting community, you find answers from others.
Just talk to the boat next to you.
And talk to the boat next to you, get to know people, go to the events, the social events of the yachting industry, meet other crew, so that you can gain some phone numbers to call when something hits.
That's great.
Yeah, I was just going to add that I think, we have a great respect for all of our competitor set. We know they're all doing an amazing job because this is extremely hard. And so I think it's extremely competitive, extremely hard. I think then, and nobody is always perfect. And so I think from a customer, from a client point of view for us, just have that in mind. Have options up your sleeve, but still look to build long-term relationships because that will pay dividends in the future.
Thank you both so much. Thank you for that advice. And thank you for telling me the crazy stories. I'm going to remember New York water forever now. That's brilliant. Now we've learnt about, obviously, provisioning, Superyacht Supplies, how the business works. But we always finish, as we have done this season, with getting to know you with some of my top questions. Kayleigh's top question. I'm going to be really nice about it. Now, first question that I ask everyone is, if you could go on board today, what position would you be?
Sailing instructor.
Well, that's unfair because
Dinghy
you
sailing
do sail.
instructor. Yeah, sweet spot.
Sweet spot, just with your passion, yeah.
I think it's probably the same. It's got to be something to do with some leisure activity. You can see who you're dealing with.
Yeah.
I think chef, hard.
I know.
Really hard. The chef and engineer, hard as well. I think, I could probably go for the easiest option.
There'll be some instructors listening who are like, it's not easy.
Chef, if you're good, you can maybe get the best love of anyone on the.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I'll be a very good yacht chef. I'm just saying I like to be in the kitchen. I reckon I get fired within a week. I listen to too much music very, very loudly when I'm cooking. So
you got a lot of people to keep happy. I was thinking, who did I meet recently? Who was a purser who was very close to the principal. So they were very much acting as a sounding board and a conciergerie. I think that's also quite an interesting role there because I think you're close. You understand, as long as they're not too demanding. Client, but if you have a great client, I think a purser with a closely knit family could be a great job. That
could work out very well. Okay, so next question, what is your top life hack? It's a good one, I love this one. I've had people, I think everyone answers now ChatGPT. Honestly, it's the biggest thing that's helped me in the last couple of days. I have
sleep
an issue
as well.
with it.
Enough sleep.
So, I mean, that's useful. I mean, if anybody wants to sleep, go back, listen to season 1 episode about sleep, because we did have Steph talking about the importance of sleep. But honestly, as far as ChatGPT is concerned, I am a little bit against ChatGPT because it's trying to replace me as a wife, because I do all the holiday planning for us when we go on holiday. And what has my other half got in the habit of doing? Typing it into ChatGPT. Yeah, and just spews out an itinerary. So I feel like I'm being replaced by a robot now.
Home cooking, I think, is mine. I would never pretend to chef, but I do like to cook, and it does get me. It gets me out of situations.
To be fair, I get that, because when I'm hosting, you could just like go to the kitchen and be like, oh, do you know what? I've just got to go sort something in the kitchen. That's genius. And it is actually our last episode of season 2. It's actually also our last episode with Margot, who other people, you guys never see her, but she does exist behind. You've heard her a couple of times. Margot, what's your favourite question? What shall our final question of the season be?
Shark or bear?
Shark or bear. So, would you rather be in the ocean with a shark swimming towards you, or in the forest with a bear running towards you?
The forest.
Okay, why?
Because a friend of mine's just cycled through the north of America and had the kit in case he was going to get attacked by a bear, so I know a solution. So my first...
Have a kit.
Well, there's a thing that makes noise that scares the bears. So that's for me.
Okay, what if you don't have the kit? You're just in the forest, walking around.
Yeah.
This is like a 5 a.m, like Saturday morning question. Better forest as well. Forest, because the chances of me outswimming a shark are quite slim.
Quite like the fact that you think you can.
Maybe outrun a bear. Maybe
you can outrun a bear.
Depends how big the bear is. Is it a panda bear?
No, it's not a panda. A panda bear is great. It's just going to roll over or fall off something. No, we're talking like grizzly bear.
Proper grizzly bear.
Yeah, proper grizzly bear, great white shark. You know. Yeah, going for bear. You're outrunning the bear.
This is depressing, but I'm almost starting to think who would kill me the quickest, and I can get it over and done with.
that has been something that was mentioned by other people, like which one's going to kill me faster.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I don't know what the answer is to that though. Bear or shark?
Still forest.
Still forest.
Yeah.
Okay, I think the forest has won this season. Most people have gone forest. I go shark. I go shark because with a shark, like I'm not out swimming or running anything. But with a shark, you can punch it in the nose, and like if you punch it enough, like
it will go away.
Tiny and ineffectual fist, but like, it'll go away.
Did the stumps that you,
but like I'm just
got.
like but with a bear, if you punch a bear in the face, it's just going to punch you back, and I think it's going to win. That's my reason. It's very logical. I'm not saying I'm surviving. That's where I go with it, is that I can punch a bear.
Keep going, more questions like this. This is great.
This is what I do when I'm like, I've got to come up with that question for season 3. Like that's been the question for season 2. It'll be what will be the question for season 3 next.
Open the whiskey, lock the door, then we do all these questions like this for another 3 hours.
Just for another 3 hours. We'll keep going afterwards and we'll put all the clips on Instagram and things. But thank you both so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. And thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, thank you for allowing us this time, and thank you to the whole Hill Robinson team for being great colleagues and friends.
Oh, that's so sweet. I'm going to snip that bit and we'll send it to the bosses. And thank you everyone for listening to season 2 of Wavelength. Yes, we will be back for season 3, but if you haven't already, please go back and listen to season 1 as well. Don't forget to give us a like, a follow and a share. And I just invite you guys to join me in finishing off with a big round of applause for Margot on her final episode. Thank you, Margot.
Well done.
Thank you to everyone. I'll speak to you soon.